Welcome to Expedition Networking, a special segment of the Networking RX podcast. I'm Frank Agan, founder and president of AmSpirit Business Connections, and your host for this program. For those of you who are familiar, on the Networking RX podcast, we share information and have conversations with experts, such as authors, researchers, and social scientists. And all of these programs are aimed at helping you learn how to become better at building professional relationships and understanding why they work. In this Expedition Networking segment, however, we're going to bring on successful entrepreneurs and unique professionals and explore their networking adventure and learn how they used relationships to create lasting success.
Today on Expedition Networking, we have Luke Van Every. He is the founder of True Compare PEO. And he put this together, and we'll talk all about this, but he put this together to better address the individual needs of small and medium-sized businesses across the United States. He has a background in this space, as he spent years working with some of the top companies, top PEOs out there. And so he's leveraged his expertise and relationships with the various PEOs out there. He's a broker, really what it boils down to, and he helps his clients find the best solutions. And he's going to certainly share about really how that opened up, how that market works. But he takes a very hands-on approach to working with clients and dedicates the necessary time to understanding the unique aspects of their business and then guide them through the complex selection process. Essentially, he's a trusted advisor to his clients. And how he explained it to me is think independent insurance agent. If you go with State Farm, you're getting nothing but State Farm. If you got an independent insurance agent, they're going to put you with the right company, the right product, based on the circumstances, and those circumstances can change, likely change from year to year. So, Luke, welcome to the program.
Hey, Frank. Thanks for having me, bud.
Well, take us on this journey. You've been in this industry, and now you're kind of inventing a whole new aspect of it.
Yeah, I don't know if I was the first to invent it, but I'm trying to perfect it. How about that?
All right, we'll go with that.
So I'm originally from Charlotte, North Carolina, where I met my wife when I was 16. And we moved to Raleigh, North Carolina, where we lived for 8 years. And in 2015, my wife graduated law school from Chapel Hill and came home and said, hey, I got this great job in New York City. Well, at the time, I was working in business-to-business sales for AT&T and was just loving it. I had a fantastic time there at AT&T. But they didn't have quite what I wanted up in New York because Verizon runs the game in the north, AT&T runs the game in the south. But I had a real loyal client that would come in a lot. And he came in about 2 weeks before I was moving to New York. And I told him, I was like, yeah, I'm out. I'm moving to New York. Got to help my wife follow her hopes and dreams and chase this dream that she has. And he's like, what are you going to do? Say, I'll figure it out. The whole point is to get up there and I'll figure it out. And he is to this day, one of Paychex's #1 enterprise sales reps. And he said, hey, you should come check this out. Just come give us a look, have a conversation with us. So I did. And I was hooked from there. That's where I got my start in the payroll and PEO industry. Started with Paychex, had a fantastic career. But I was a big Southern boy in the middle of New York City where I had moved sight unseen. Didn't know a single person. I'll never forget pulling into the city, looking out the window of the U-Haul, honking. My wife's like, what are you honking at? I was like, I don't know. Everybody else is honking. And I got there and I was like, all right, I'm just going to take everything in. And I realized that right then and there, in my first couple of months of being there, that networking was how they do this. This is how this works. You got to get it. You got to go out and meet people. So I took it head on. I would go to any networking event that was available. If they'd let me in, I'd go. That might not be the greatest way to network, but at the time when you were fresh and new to networking. That's how I went about it. And yeah, that was the beginning. Had a really great career at Paychex, really started getting my feet wet, and then got recruited by a competitor that's where I just took off in the PEO industry, learned it, loved it, watched clients grow and scale, saw how in I could be with my clients and how much I could help, but didn't stop networking. That's how I kept growing my business. Network, meet people. And New York's a great place to do that. And then in 2020, as we all know, there was no in-person networking. So I got with a very good friend of mine, Esther Deutsch. She runs an incredible IT company called RCS Professionals. And we met at a BNI meeting. 2 weeks later, we had lunch. And from that lunch until 5 years later, we networked at least twice a month, every month. And we become very good friends. She was the first one I called. And I said, what are we going to do? All of the in-person is closing. She's like, let's start our own. So we decided to start our own networking event called In This Together Roundtable. And we wanted to take everything that we loved from networking and get rid of everything that we didn't really want, right? We wanted whoever they wanted to come. We weren't going to tell anybody no, but we were going to make sure that everybody knew you're coming here to help. If you're coming here to take, not your place, and we'll weed you out. What was incredible about it is we just blasted it out to everybody. We had no structure. We had never done it ourselves. And the first call, because everyone just needed to talk to people in March of 2020, the first guy I called on said, hey, tell us about your company. Tell us what's working well to grow your business. Tell us how we can help, and then we'll open it up to the group. There were 75 people on the first call. And I believe his name was John. John was like, Luke, I don't think I'm the right person to go. And I don't even think I should be here. And I was like, why? What's going on? He's like, I lost my job 2 weeks ago. And I went, John, you're exactly who we want here. Tell us what you used to do. Tell us what you're looking for, and tell us how we can help. And on that call, first call, he got a job offer. So at the end of that, we were like, okay, we might have something here. Let's keep going. So we did. And it evolved into having a LinkedIn page, having a website. And I would tell people, we thought, all right, we'll do it for a couple of months and we'll go back to normal. And I used to say every Tuesday, I'd say, listen, I'm going to be here every Tuesday until nobody shows up. Well, fast forward almost 2 years later, people are still showing up. And I had a great 2020 because of networking. I was able to meet so many amazing individuals all over the country. I wasn't limited to who I could talk to grabbing coffee. And during 2020, I decided I wanted to go out on my own. The PEO industry, for those that don't know what a PEO is, and if it's okay with you, Frank, I'd love to explain.
No, I was going to stop you at some point. Please explain, because I think two things that I didn't want to, you're on a roll. I didn't want to interrupt you. One, okay. When you go from North Carolina to New York, that's a hell of a lot harder than going from New York to North Carolina.
Sure.
That's a cutthroat market.
Sure.
In the best possible way. It's moving fast.
Sure.
PEO is a tough sell. It's tough sell. Because the reason I say that is if people don't know what it is,
right,
you feel like you're selling snake oil, right? Right. So please explain.
I want to say something about moving to North Carolina. I have hair now and a beard. I want everyone to know I had a shaved head my entire life, short hair my entire life, no facial hair when I moved to New York. And as I began getting friends in the office in New York, they would mess with me and be like, hey, Luke, you're not in the military anymore, man. You have hair. You can grow your hair out. And they used to bust on me all the time. I used to tell them, I was like, this is in the South, shaved head's fine. It's okay. I have to contribute moving to North Carolina for having hair, because if I would have never moved there,
there you go.
I'd probably still be shaving my head. But
yeah, tell us about PEOs and not just PEOs, but then how you're kind of
sure.
You're being unique.
Right. So what a PEO is, a professional employer organization, helps companies with payroll, employee benefits, workers' comp risk management, and HR support through their HRIS enterprise style platform. But what makes them different than just processing payroll on a platform? On the PEO, you go into what we call a co-employment model. So let's say you have 20 employees. Take your 20 employees and we put them under the federal ID number of the PEO. So they look like the PEO's employees, but it's only for administrative purposes. So you're processing the payroll under the PEO's federal ID number. So you don't have to worry about tax filings, state registrations in most states, and unemployment claims. It's completely off of your desk and onto theirs. If something went wrong, you wouldn't even know about it. Then on the workers' comp, you're adopting their workers' comp policy, which it's always a pass-through or a little better, but they pay it for you on a pay-by-go basis. And you don't have to worry about claims or audits either. And those higher risk companies where you got to sit down and get audited every year for workers' comp, that can be painful. So that's off your desk onto theirs. And in the co-employment, the PEO has some skin in the game. They want you to succeed, right? So they are there to support you in all 50 states, state, federally, and locally, to help keep you up to date with the ever-changing landscape of HR of compliance. There were 5,000 law changes in 2019. 2022 is probably going to triple that.
Yeah.
So you're offsetting some of that research and stress from your internal team to the PEO, who already has a huge team working on that, making sure that you're being updated with it. Now, that's all great, but what's the cherry on top? The cherry on top is the employee benefits. Some PEOs have upwards of 600,000 worksite employees under their federal ID number. And their buying power with the carriers is going to be much larger than a company's that's under 200. So by going into the co-employment model, it allows the small, medium-sized business to tap into the economies of scale of the PEO to get better plans, better rates on medical, and then enhance the offering with dental, vision, long-term, short-term disability, accident, death, and dismemberment, all the way down to pet insurance. So you, as a small business owner, can offer a benefit package like you would see at Google or Facebook and compete with those style of companies to hire and retain top talent. So in a nutshell, very quickly, that's what a PEO is intended for. Now, there's 900 PEOs in the United States. How do you pick the right one?
Well, it depends, right?
It absolutely depends. There's so many different variables that go into finding the right PEO for you. So I wanted to start a company that I could help companies decide which PEO is going to be the best fit for them for the longest period of time. Because yes, it's kind of like being a health insurance broker and having, but what you said was year over year, it could change. That's not what we're looking to do. We're looking to find the PEO that is going to help you scale and grow for the longest period of time. We want to set you in where you're supposed to be the first time. So I started True Compare PEO. And we are a PEO consulting firm, also recognized as a PEO brokerage. We offer free, dedicated support in comparing your top PEO options. We have partnerships with 15 of the top professional employer organizations in the country. And our goal is to simplify the PEO search process and help you evaluate top providers that best suit your individualized needs by providing transparency and trusted expertise every step of the way through a true comparison. Now, once you have been placed on the PEO that we find that is the best fit for you, we don't go away. The PEO, our PEO partners attach us to those accounts as the broker of record, so that we can advocate for you and work with you for the life of your time in this partnership. Our partners want to service our clients at the best of their ability because they know we have 14 other PEOs waiting to take that business.
Yeah. Well, I think it's unique. It's powerful. Especially for people who know they need to be with a PEO anyway. And I've been in business a while. I remember when PEOs first started coming on the scene. Again, selling snake oil, right? It's, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but just people are just not, they were totally foreign to them. This makes no sense. It seemed like too good to be true, right? But now you have people who are, I get it, but does it make sense?
So we took that feeling that you're having right there into thought when I created the logo. Apples have absolutely nothing to do with PEO, but apples to apples comparison, because we're going to do a side by side apples to apples comparison. And historically, the apple has been a symbol of education. If you're unsure of what a PEO is, we'd love to have a conversation with you and educate you on you and settle some of the things that you may have heard that may be incorrect or specific to one PEO, because there are so many that are so amazing that do so many great things, but they're all PEOs, but they're all very different.
Oh yeah, I'm sure of it. Well, and businesses are obviously different as well. You talked about workers' comp.
Yep.
In Ohio, we have a state workers' comp system, so that's a little. Well, it is good. You can't shop it, obviously.
Right.
It's the state.
Sure, but how about what if I own a company in New York, but then I hire employees in Ohio, and I think, all right, I'm going to go grab I'll just put them on my workers' comp that I have. And they don't know that, oh man, I got to go set up workers' comp in Ohio because it's a workers' comp state.
Right.
That's a small section of the PEOs. Immediately when you put that, you hire that employee and put it into the system, their address, it's going to trigger them to say, hey, here's how Ohio works when it comes to workers' comp.
Right. Because
we're going to need to get this set up before you pay this employee. And that one hits close to home. I've told a few individuals over my time when we were just doing payroll, I'm like, you have workers' comp, right? They're like, yeah. I'm like, you sure? You're sure? Yep. I got it all taken care of. Not having workers' comp and paying somebody is like $2,500 a day in fines.
Yeah.
It may be something that sits in the back end that you don't think about because we run a very clean, safe company, which is great. But if you don't have it in certain places and they find out that you don't have it, which they can see, it's not a good day.
I used to be an attorney. It implodes many a business, right? Because they're trying to, hey, I'm not going to get caught. But when they get caught, it's crippling.
It's crippling. I've seen some big fines from workers' comp just not having it. And with that, there are traditional PEOs that it's heavy into the benefits. And then I have PEO partners that are heavy in the workers' comp. So maybe you're running a lower wage, not offering benefits, higher risk company, right? And you're having a tough time finding workers' comp. There are actually PEOs out there that specialize in tapping into their economies of scale to get better workers' comp.
Right. That's what I mean. It depends. That's why I think what you're doing is genius. It's funny because over the course of the last month, I've talked somehow or another, been connected with a lot of PEOs, people who are working in PEOs, and that's the number one issue they have is like, you develop a relationship, you network, you develop a relationship with somebody. They love you. They're sold on the PEO. You get them all the way to I'm trying to think of the analogy, to the wedding chapel, and you find out you can't get married because they're risk. The PEO doesn't want them, right?
Yep.
What a horrible thing to have to be able to go and have to tell, well, not your client. They're not your client.
Yeah, your prospect.
Right.
Sorry, can't help you.
Yeah, and they love you and they want everything, great. This is great. They're excited. Can't help you.
That gets tired. That gets tiring quick.
I'm sure.
And I went through that quite a bit. That was a big driver in starting True Compare. PEO is not always the perfect fit for a company, but if it is, I want to be able to help you find it. I've had numerous clients, Luke, we want to work with you, my friend. And then you got to turn around and say, sorry, that my employer doesn't want to work with you. That's a difficult thing to come back from.
Yeah.
Especially when it has insurance involved. Insurance is here to protect us, right? That's what it was made for. And when you tell somebody, I don't want to, you're pretty much saying, I don't want to protect you. That's a tough day. And that's a tough conversation. That's tough to come back from.
Well, I would imagine what you're doing now, you don't have that conversation often.
We do not have that conversation often because we're going to make sure that we take our time. And you said just a moment ago that you're running into a lot of PEOs right now. And that's typical because the PEO industry does 65 to 75% of its business between October and January. So what that means is all the renewals are coming up. Individuals are taking a look to see if it's time to move off of the PEO to another PEO or on PEO for the first time. So the PEOs are busy, one. And if you're going into a PEO or you're switching, you're going through a complete HR infrastructure overhaul. You're changing your platform. You're changing the benefits. You're changing your contacts, everything. That is not something you do in a week. If you are looking for an October start, you should have already started your search. You need 1 month to search, quote, negotiate, decide. You need another month. You should be beginning your implementation a month out from the day one of the following month. Even if your payroll is on the 15th, you should start on the 1st of the month prior.
Right.
Because it takes time to implement all of that. Cancel, move, data entry, all of that takes time. Whether you go through True Compare or not, do me a favor. Set aside 2 months, solid months to make this decision. And I guarantee you will have a better onboarding experience. Guaranteed. October, you should have started. November, you have a few days until you have to start. January, guess what? You need to start in October. Well, Luke, that's further back than the other two. Here's why. If you start your search in October and your implementation in November, you can be done with everything by Thanksgiving. And then what do you get to enjoy, Frank?
The holidays.
That's right. And in January, you come back from the holiday season and you're already good to go. I've seen it so many times the last week in January. Hey, we'd like to take a look and switch PEOs. I'm like, we have 2 weeks to do this. And you do it because you want to help the person that reached out to you. And then you're calling them the day before Christmas or Hanukkah. And you're like, hey, we gotta load these 50 employees today, or they're not going to get paid, or they're not going to have their benefits. Hey, all your employees on January 2nd, they need to do their I-9s. So it doesn't matter how late they were up, because guess what? The government wants to make sure this is done by the end of day on January 2nd. Or you start in October, be done by Thanksgiving, and I promise you will have a better experience.
All right, great segue to wrap up. What's the best way to get a hold of you?
you want to get it on me, LinkedIn, Luke Van Every. I think I'm the only Luke Van Every on LinkedIn, so it won't be hard to find. Or shoot me an email, luke@truecomparepeo.com.
All right. I'll get that in the show notes. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Frank.
To wrap things up, remember, we're looking for some enterprising business types to join our team as franchisees of AmSpirit Business Connections. Our franchisees work with entrepreneurs, sales representatives, and professionals in their area to help them become more successful through networking and the exchange of quality business referrals in a structured weekly morning meeting. This is a unique franchise opportunity, you see, because these meetings are in the morning. A successful business type or professional can add this franchise opportunity onto what they're already doing. Again, all of our franchisees do something else. For a couple hours in the morning, a few mornings a week, these franchisees work the AmSpirit Business Connections model. The rest of the time, they're attorneys, accountants, realtors, coaches, and consultants of various kinds. The wonderful thing is that not only do our franchisees realize a financial gain from operating the AmSpirit Business Connections model, but the business networks that they build and develop become a great source of referrals for their primary business as well. Perhaps you know someone, perhaps you are that someone. Whatever the case, to learn more about the AmSpirit Business Connections franchise opportunity, please contact me using the email in the show notes or the one we provide at the end of this program.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AmSpirit.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.